Moving to the specialized connective tissues, these have more specific functions than the general connective tissues do. We're talking about cartilage and osseous tissue or bone and blood. Cartilage is the only connective tissue that's avascular, and it's got to get nourishment from other tissues around it, blood supplies around it. You find this in your joints, in between bones, in your ear, your nose, and in parts of the respiratory tract. Osseous tissue or bone, obviously, is for support. It protects your vital organs. It gives something for the muscles to attach to. It stores calcium. The bone marrow is found there. Blood is the only connective tissue that has a liquid extracellular matrix. It's mainly water, but it's got some other things in it, dissolved solutes and proteins. So those are the three types of specialized connective tissue. Let's look at each individual one. Cartilage. It's very tough and flexible. It absorbs shock. And it resists a lot of tension and compression and shearing. Got a lot of collagen and elastic fibers in it, the glycosaminoglycans and the proteoglycans in the ground substance are there. There's two cell types. There are chondroblasts, which those are the cells that make the extracellular matrix. And eventually they put themselves in a little cavity that's called a lacunae in the extracellular matrix, and they become these mature chondrocytes or cartilage cells. There's three types. There's hyaline cartilage, elastic cartilage, and fibrocartilage. Hyaline cartilage is the most abundant. And if you look at this, when you look at hyaline cartilage, you see the cells, the chondrocytes in the lacunae. Okay? You find these on the ends of bones in your joints. It attaches the sternum to the ribs, in your nose. This is where you find hyaline cartilage. In your trachea, you find hyaline cartilage. I like to refer to this cartilage as the Scooby-Doo eyes. You see the little Scooby-Doo eyes right here. You see all of them? That's the cartilage cell, the chondrocyte, and it sits in a space called the lacunae. That's hyaline cartilage. Fibrocartilage, you've got some of the Scooby-Doo eyes, but they're not nearly as abundant. And there's a lot of collagen fibers. There's not a lot of room for ground substance in the extracellular matrix. They have a lot of strength, tensile strength, resist tension, and a little bit of elasticity. You find this in your articular intervertebral disc that are between the vertebra in your back, in your spine. You also find them between bones. You find fibrocartilage in fibrous joints. Elastic cartilage obviously has elastic fibers, and this tissue vibrates. And that's why you find it in your larynx to produce sound, also in your external ear. It has, again, the cartilage cells, the chondrocytes sit in the lacunae, the space. But you see these elastic fibers in here between them. See all those elastic fibers in there? So it looks a little different than the hyaline cartilage did with the Scooby-Doo eyes. Now, osseous tissue is also called bone. Okay? Bone, even though it's solid, is a constantly changing tissue. It's constantly changing. It's dynamic. The extracellular matrix is 35% organic, and that's your collagen and your ground substance. And then it's 65% inorganic, and that's your calcium. So it's one of the hardest substances in your body. And when we talk about chapter 6 and 7, we'll look more at bone tissue. I always think it looks like a tree that's been cut down and the rings of the tree. Blood is the last connective tissue we're going to mention. And again, it is unique because the extracellular matrix is a fluid that is called plasma. That's a P. It's used for transport. And that white background, that's the extracellular matrix, and then the little pink disc, and then you see bigger ones that have blue nuclei in them. Those are your leukocytes. You also see some little dots. Those are your platelets. And they all just float around in that matrix, in that blood.